Rex saved 12 soldiers that day, but when the smoke cleared and the helicopters came, he was nowhere to be found. Sergeant Martinez never stopped thinking about the dog who gave everything to protect them. After a decade of guilt and sleepless nights, he made a decision that would lead to the most incredible reunion you'll ever witness. The morning sun blazed mercilessly over the dusty Afghan village as Sergeant Carlos Martinez adjusted his tactical gear. Beside him, Rex, a German shepherd with intelligent amber eyes, sat alert and ready. The dog's black tactical vest bore the insignia of the US Army. But to Martinez and his squad, Rex was more than military equipment, he was family. "All right, listen up," Martinez called to his 12-man squad gathered around their armored vehicle. The men ranged in age from 19 to 35, each carrying the weight of countless missions in their weathered faces. "Intel says we've got possible IED activity in the Market District. Rex will take point for explosive detection." Private Johnson, barely 22 with freckles still visible under his desert camouflage, glanced nervously at the narrow streets. "Ahead, Sarge, what if we run into more than just bombs?" Martinez placed a reassuring hand on the young soldier's shoulder. "That's why we've got Rex. He's detected over 40 explosives in the past 6 months. This dog has saved more lives than most humans ever will." Rex's ears perked up at the mention of his name, his tail giving a single, confident wag. The bond between Martinez and Rex had been forged through 18 months of dangerous missions, countless nights sleeping in the same bunker, and moments when trust meant the difference between life and death. As they moved through the village, Rex trotted ahead with purpose, his nose working constantly. The local children watched from doorways, some waving shyly at the soldiers. Martinez had always believed their mission wasn't just about combat, it was about protecting innocent people who just wanted to live their lives in peace. The squad moved in formation through the narrow market streets, where vendors sold everything from spices to handmade crafts. The scents were overwhelming: cumin, cardamom, fresh bread, but Rex remained focused on his job. His training had taught him to detect the specific chemical signatures of explosives, even among the chaos of a busy marketplace. Suddenly, Rex froze. His body went rigid, ears forward, nose pointed directly at a small building with blue wooden shutters. Martinez immediately raised his fist, signaling the squad to halt. "Rex has something," Martinez whispered into his radio. "Building at 2 o'clock, blue shutters." The dog's behavior was unmistakable to Martinez. In their months together, he had learned to read every subtle signal Rex gave. The way the dog's muscles tensed, how his breathing changed, even the angle of his tail, all of it communicated vital information about potential threats. Rex took 3 careful steps toward the building, then sat down in the universal signal for explosive detected. His training was so precise that he could pinpoint the location within mere feet. "Good boy," Martinez murmured, reaching into his pocket for Rex's favorite reward, a tennis ball that had somehow survived multiple combat deployments. But before he could retrieve it, the world exploded into chaos. The blast came not from the building Rex had identified, but from behind them. A hidden IED, planted in a vegetable cart they had passed moments earlier, erupted with devastating force. The explosion sent Martinez flying through the air, his ears ringing as debris rained down around him. Through the smoke and dust, he could see his squad scattered across the street. Private Johnson was pinned under a piece of concrete, blood streaming from a gash on his forehead. Corporal Williams was clutching his leg, his face twisted in pain. The scene was chaos: shouting voices, the crack of gunfire from nearby buildings, and the acrid smell of burning fuel and explosives. But Rex was already moving. The German shepherd had been knocked down by the blast, but had immediately gotten back on his feet, while Martinez struggled to clear his head and assess the damage. Rex was darting between the injured soldiers, checking each one with the efficiency of a trained medic. "Rex," Martinez called out, his voice hoarse from the dust and smoke. "Rex, come here." But the dog had priorities of his own. He had spotted something that made Martinez's blood run cold: a second device, partially hidden under an overturned market stall, just 20 feet from where half the squad was taking cover. Rex began barking frantically, a sharp, urgent sound that cut through the chaos of the aftermath. He positioned himself between the hidden explosive and the soldiers, barking incessantly and refusing to move. "Second device," Martinez shouted to his squad. Rex found another one. Everyone moved back. The soldiers began to retreat, helping their wounded comrades as they went. Private Johnson, despite his head wound, was supporting Corporal Williams as they limped toward safety. The rest of the squad provided cover fire as insurgents opened up from the surrounding buildings, but Rex remained in position, his barks becoming more frantic as he sensed the immediate danger. Martinez could see what the dog was trying to tell them. The device was larger than the first one, and if it detonated while the squad was still in the kill zone, none of them would survive. "Rex, come," Martinez commanded, but the dog refused to abandon his post. He could sense that the soldiers weren't far enough away yet. His training and instinct told him that his job wasn't finished. The gunfire intensified. Bullets zinged off the concrete walls around them as insurgents tried to prevent their escape. Martinez realized they were pinned down, caught between the enemy fire and the explosive device Rex had detected. That's when the impossible happened. Rex looked back at Martinez one final time, his amber eyes meeting his handler's gaze across the smoke-filled street. In that moment, Martinez saw something that would haunt him for the next 10 years, a look of understanding, of acceptance, and of unwavering loyalty. The dog turned back toward the explosive device and did something that defied all his training. Instead of maintaining his distance and continuing to alert, Rex moved closer to the device. He began pawing at it, deliberately triggering the detonation mechanism. "No!" Martinez screamed, but it was too late. The second explosion was smaller, but more concentrated. Rex had positioned himself directly over the device, using his own body to absorb and redirect the blast upward, away from the retreating soldiers. The force of the explosion created a crater where the dog had been standing, but the squad was far enough away to avoid serious injury. Through his tears and the settling dust, Martinez could see that Rex's sacrifice had saved them all. The debris field showed that without the dog's intervention, the blast would have killed everyone within a 30-foot radius. As the helicopters arrived for evacuation, Martinez searched frantically through the rubble and smoke. "Rex, Rex," he called out, but there was no response. The area where the dog had made his final stand was too dangerous to approach. Enemy fire was still coming from nearby buildings, and there could be additional explosives. "Martinez, we have to go," his commanding officer shouted over the roar of the helicopter rotors. "The LZ is too hot. We leave now, or we don't leave at all." As Martinez was pulled into the helicopter, he took one last look at the smoke-filled street where Rex had made the ultimate sacrifice. The dog was nowhere to be seen, and Martinez had to face the horrible possibility that his partner, his friend, was gone forever. The helicopter lifted off, carrying 11 wounded soldiers and one devastated sergeant who would never forgive himself for leaving Rex behind. 10 years later, Carlos Martinez sat in his small apartment in San Antonio, Texas, staring at a faded photograph. In the picture, he was kneeling next to Rex in front of their barracks, both of them dusty and tired after a long patrol. But Rex's tail was wagging and Martinez was actually smiling. Those smiles felt like they belonged to different people now. Martinez had retired from the army 5 years earlier, but he had never truly left the battlefield. Every night, he relived that final moment when Rex had looked back at him. Every morning, he woke up with the same crushing weight of guilt that had been his constant companion since that day in Afghanistan. He had tried therapy, medication, support, groups, everything the VA recommended for soldiers struggling with PTSD, but nothing could ease the specific guilt he carried about Rex. While his fellow soldiers had been awarded Purple Hearts for their injuries that day, Rex received no recognition, no memorial, no acknowledgement that his sacrifice had saved 12 human lives. The apartment was sparse, almost military in its efficiency. A small kitchen, a bedroom with a single bed, and a living room that contained little more than a couch, a television, and a bookshelf filled mostly with military history books. On the mantel above an electric fireplace sat Rex's collar, the one piece of equipment Martinez had managed to retrieve from their gear before leaving Afghanistan. Martinez worked as a security guard at a local shopping mall, a job that paid the bills, but did little to fill the enormous hole that military service and Rex's companionship had left in his life. His co-workers found him polite but distant. He had no close friends, no romantic relationships, and little contact with his family. The isolation wasn't intentional. Martinez simply couldn't connect with people who hadn't experienced what he had been through. How could he explain to someone that he missed a dog more than he missed some of the human friends he had lost in combat? How could he make them understand that Rex hadn't been just an animal, but a partner who had understood him in ways that transcended species? Every few months, Martinez would research military working dogs, reading stories about other handlers and their partners. He learned about programs that helped retired military dogs find homes with their former handlers, or with other military families. Each story filled him with a mixture of hope and despair. Hope that somewhere, somehow, Rex might have survived, and despair that he would never know for sure. He had written dozens of letters to military officials, asking about Rex's status, requesting information about whether his remains had ever been recovered. The responses were always the same. Rex was listed as missing in action, and no further information was available. But Martinez never stopped looking. Late at night, when the guilt was overwhelming, he would search online databases of animal shelters across the world, looking through photographs of German shepherds, hoping against hope that he might recognize those amber eyes. He contacted rescue organizations, military dog retirement programs, and even private investigators. But every lead ended in disappointment. His friends from the squad had stayed in touch for the first few years after their deployment ended. But gradually the contact had faded. They had moved on with their lives, gotten married, started families, built careers. Martinez understood why they didn't want to dwell on the past. But their ability to move forward only made his own inability to do so feel more pronounced. Private Johnson, now a police officer in Ohio, had sent a Christmas card every year for the first 5 years, always including a note about how grateful he was to be alive because of Rex's sacrifice. But even those cards had stopped coming, and Martinez didn't blame him, who wanted to be reminded of war during the holidays. The truth was that Martinez didn't want to move on. Moving on felt like betraying Rex's memory, like admitting that his partner's life hadn't mattered enough to warrant eternal grief. So he maintained his vigil, living a half-life of regret and remembrance, waiting for anything that might give him a chance at redemption. That chance came on a Tuesday morning in March in the form of a phone call that would change everything. Martinez was getting ready for work when his phone rang. The caller ID showed an international number he didn't recognize, and his first instinct was to let it go to voicemail. But something, perhaps the same instinct that had kept him alive in combat, made him answer. Carlos Martinez. The voice was heavily accented, Middle Eastern, but the English was clear. Yes, who is this? My name is Ahmed Hassan. I am calling from Afghanistan, from the village where your unit was stationed 10 years ago. Martinez's hand tightened on the phone. In a decade, no one from Afghanistan had ever contacted him directly. His heart began to pound with a mixture of hope and dread. Mr. Martinez, I have information about your dog, about Rex. The words hit Martinez like a physical blow. He sat down heavily on his couch, his hand shaking as he gripped the phone. What? What kind of information? He is alive, Mr. Martinez. Rex is alive. The apartment seemed to spin around Martinez. He had imagined this moment countless times, but now that it was happening, he couldn't process it. That's impossible. It's been 10 years. The explosion. Please, let me explain. Ahmad continued. My father, he was in the market that day. He saw what happened, saw what your dog did. After the helicopters left, after the fighting stopped, he went to look. Rex was badly hurt, but he was breathing. Martinez could barely speak. Your father, he helped Rex. Yes, my father. He loves animals. He could not leave a dog to die, even an American military dog. He carried Rex to our home, and my mother, she is ... how do you say? She knows about healing animals. They saved his life. The story seemed impossible, but Martinez found himself believing every word. He thought about the Afghan people he had met during his deployment. Many of them had shown remarkable kindness despite the chaos surrounding them. Where is he now? Martinez asked, his voice barely above a whisper. He lives with my family still. My father, he tried to find you, to contact your military, but ... double quotes. Ahmad paused. The situation here, it became very dangerous. Communication with Americans became difficult. But Rex, he has been our family dog for 10 years. He is old now, but healthy. Martinez was crying now, tears streaming down his face, as 10 years of grief and guilt began to transform into something he had almost forgotten how to feel. Hope. I need to see him, Martinez said. I need to come to Afghanistan. Mr. Martinez, this is very dangerous. The situation here is not like when you were a soldier. But Ahmad paused again. But perhaps there is another way. My nephew, he lives in Germany now. Maybe we can arrange something. Over the next hour, Ahmad explained the situation in detail. After the explosion, his father, Jamal Hassan, had found Rex, unconscious but alive in the rubble. The dog had suffered severe injuries, broken leg, burns, and internal damage, but Jamal's wife, who had learned traditional animal healing from her grandmother, had nursed him back to health. At first, Rex had been aggressive and traumatized, snapping at anyone who came near him. But gradually, through patience and kindness, the Hassan family had earned his trust. Rex had learned to respond to commands in Dari, the local language, though he still seemed to remember some of his English training. "He knows you are gone," Ahmad explained. "Sometimes, when he hears helicopters, he becomes very excited, like he is looking for someone. My father believes he is looking for you." The conversation lasted for over 2 hours, with Ahmed sharing stories about Rex's life with their family. The dog had become a beloved pet, playing with Ahmad's children when they visited and serving as a guard dog for the household. But Ahmad's father had never forgotten that Rex belonged to someone else, someone who was probably grieving his loss. "Why are you calling now?" Martinez asked. "After all these years?" "My nephew in Germany. He has been helping us research. He found information about American soldiers from that day. Found your name in newspaper articles about the battle. We have been trying to contact you for 6 months." As the call ended, Martinez sat in his apartment, staring at Rex's collar on the mantel. For the first time in 10 years, he felt something resembling peace. Rex was alive. Rex was safe. And somehow, some way, Martinez was going to find a way to bring his partner home. Within a week, Martinez had requested leave from his job, emptied his savings account, and booked a flight to Frankfurt, Germany. Ahmad's nephew, Rashid Hassan, had agreed to serve as an intermediary, helping to coordinate the logistics of bringing Rex to Europe, where a reunion could safely take place. The plan was complicated and expensive, but Martinez didn't care about the cost through a network of contacts that included former military colleagues, Afghan refugees, and animal rescue organizations. They had arranged for Rex to be transported from Afghanistan to Germany through Pakistan. The journey would be dangerous for everyone involved. Afghanistan in 2024 was far more unstable than it had been during Martinez's deployment, and transporting an animal across international borders required extensive documentation and coordination with multiple governments. But Jamal Hassan was determined to help. Through Rashid, he explained that Rex had been a member of their family for a decade, but he had always known this day might come. "Rex saved your soldiers," Jamal had told Martinez through a translator during one of their phone conversations. "Now maybe you can save each other." Martinez arrived in Frankfurt on a cold April morning, his stomach churning with anticipation and anxiety. He hadn't told anyone about the trip, except his supervisor at work, who had reluctantly granted him unpaid leave. The truth was too fragile, too precious to share with anyone who might try to talk him out of it. Rashid Hassan met him at the airport, a young man in his late 20s with kind eyes and excellent English. He worked as an engineer for a German automotive company and had been living in Europe for 5 years, but he still maintained close ties to his family in Afghanistan. "Mr. Martinez," Rashid said, extending his hand. "It is an honor to meet you. My uncle has told me so many stories about Rex and what he did for your soldiers." During the drive from the airport to Rashid's apartment, Martinez learned more about the Hassan family and their life in Afghanistan. Jamal Hassan had been a shopkeeper in the village market, the same market where the explosion had occurred. He had lost his shop in the fighting that followed, but he had never regretted his decision to save Rex. "My uncle says that Rex brought good luck to our family," Rashid explained as they navigated the German Autobahn. "After he joined us, my uncle's new shop became successful. My cousin got a scholarship to university. My aunt recovered from an illness. Maybe it is coincidence, but my uncle believes Rex is a special dog." The apartment in Frankfurt was small but comfortable, and Rashid had prepared a space for Rex's arrival. They had purchased dog food, toys, and a comfortable bed, though neither man was sure how Rex would react to being reunited with Martinez after so many years. "He is an old dog now," Rashid warned. 12 years old, maybe 13. "He moves slowly, and his hearing is not perfect, but his mind is still sharp. My uncle says he still watches for helicopters." The waiting was agonizing. The transport from Afghanistan had been delayed twice due to political complications, and Martinez found himself pacing Rashid's apartment, unable to eat or sleep properly. 10 years of grief and hope had led to this moment, and he was terrified that something would go wrong at the last minute. Finally, on a Saturday evening, Rashid's phone rang. The transport had arrived in Frankfurt. Rex was at the airport. The drive to the cargo facility felt like the longest journey of Martinez's life. His hands were shaking, and his heart was pounding so hard he was afraid he might have a heart attack before he could see Rex again. "What if he doesn't remember me?" Martinez asked as they pulled into the airport facility. Rashid smiled gently. "Mr. Martinez, dogs do not forget the people they love. Rex has been waiting for you for 10 years. He will remember." The cargo facility was sterile and cold, filled with the sounds of machinery and the voices of workers processing international shipments. Martinez followed Rashid through a maze of corridors, past stacks of boxes and crates, until they reached a special area reserved for live animal transport. "He is in there," Rashid said, pointing to a secure room with glass windows. The veterinarian examined him when he arrived. "He says Rex is in good health for his age." Martinez approached the window with trembling steps. Inside the room, lying on a blanket in a large transport crate, was an older German shepherd with graying fur around his muzzle and ears. The dog appeared to be sleeping, his breathing slow and steady. It was Rex, 10 years older, moving more slowly, but unmistakably. The same dog who had saved 12 soldiers and haunted Martinez's dreams for a decade. The sight of him alive, breathing, real nearly brought Martinez to his knees. Can I go in?" Martinez asked, his voice choking with emotion. The facility supervisor, who had been briefed on the extraordinary circumstances of the reunion, nodded and unlocked the door. "Take your time," he said quietly. "We'll give you privacy." Martinez entered the room slowly, not wanting to startle Rex. The dog's ears twitched at the sound of footsteps, and he opened his eyes. For a moment, Rex seemed disoriented, looking around the unfamiliar room with the confusion of an animal who had been traveling for many hours. Then his gaze fell on Martinez. The change was instantaneous and miraculous. Rex's ears shot forward, his head lifting with an alertness that seemed to defy his age. He stared at Martinez with an intensity that made the man's breath catch in his throat. "Rex," Martinez whispered, kneeling down beside the crate. "Rex, boy, is that you?" The dog's tail began to wag slowly at first, then with increasing vigor. Rex struggled to stand on legs that were stiff with age and the rigors of travel, but his eyes never left Martinez's face. A soft whine escaped his throat, a sound of recognition and joy that Martinez remembered from countless mornings in Afghanistan. Martinez opened the crate door with trembling hands. Rex stepped out carefully, his movements deliberate but determined. For a moment, the two of them simply looked at each other across the space of 10 years and thousands of miles. Then Rex took a step forward, and then another, until he was close, enough for Martinez to reach out and touch his graying head. The contact was electric. Rex pressed his head into Martinez's hand with the same gesture of affection he had shown as a young military working dog. His tail wagged harder, and he began making soft sounds of recognition and contentment. "I'm so sorry," Martinez whispered, running his hands through Rex's fur. "I'm so sorry I left you behind. I thought you were gone. I thought I'd lost you forever." Rex seemed to understand that an apology was being offered. He moved closer, pressing his body against Martinez's chest in a gesture that was both forgiving and comforting. The dog's presence was exactly as Martinez remembered: calm, steady, and completely devoted. For 10 minutes, they simply held each other in the sterile room. Man and dog reunited across time and space by a bond that neither war nor separation had been able to break. Martinez cried freely, letting out years of grief and guilt, while Rex remained pressed against him, offering the same comfort and loyalty he had provided on countless difficult nights in Afghanistan. Finally, Martinez pulled back to look at Rex's face. The dog's amber eyes were still bright with intelligence, though they now held the wisdom of age and the contentment of a dog who had been well loved by the Hassan family. "You saved us all, boy," Martinez said, his voice steady for the first time in years. "You saved us all, and I never forgot. Not for a single day." Rex's tail wagged in response, and he licked Martinez's hand with the same gentle affection he had shown as a young dog. In that moment, Martinez realized that Rex wasn't the only one who had been saved. The guilt and isolation that had consumed him for 10 years began to lift, replaced by a sense of completion and peace he had thought was lost forever. The next few days passed in a blur of paperwork, veterinary examinations, and preparation for their return to the United States. Rex adapted to being with Martinez again with remarkable ease, as if the 10-year separation had been merely a long deployment, rather than a lifetime apart. The Hassan family had taken excellent care of him. Despite his age, Rex was healthy and well socialized. He had learned to respond to commands in Dari, which amused Martinez to no end. "Be a Inja" meant "come here," and Rex obeyed it as readily as he had once responded to English commands. Rashid shared stories about Rex's life with his family, painting a picture of a dog who had been deeply loved and who had given love in return. Rex had helped raise Ahmed's children, served as a gentle playmate and protector. He had learned the rhythms of civilian life, market days, prayer times, family gatherings with the same adaptability he had once shown in military settings. He was never just our dog, Rashid explained as they watched Rex explore his temporary accommodations in the apartment. He was always your dog who was staying with us. My uncle made sure we all understood that. He said someday you would come. For him, the flight back to San Antonio was Rex's first time on a commercial aircraft since his military transport to Afghanistan 15 years earlier. Martinez had purchased a seat in the cabin's pet-friendly section, and Rex settled in beside him with the calm demeanor of a dog who had learned to adapt to whatever circumstances life presented. During the long flight, Martinez found himself talking to Rex in the way he used to during their night watches in Afghanistan. He told the dog about his life over the past 10 years, about the guilt and sleepless nights, about the job at the mall, and the empty apartment that was about to become much less empty. Rex listened with the patient attention of a dog who understood that his human needed to talk, occasionally lifting his head to look at Martinez with those familiar amber eyes. By the time they landed in Texas, Martinez felt like he had been debriefed on a decade of separation. The apartment that had seemed so lifeless and sterile was transformed by Rex's presence. The dog explored every corner with interest, sniffing at furniture and settling into spaces as if he were claiming them as his own. Martinez realized he would need to buy dog food, toys, a proper bed, all the things he had once taken for granted when Rex was young, and their needs were provided by the military. That evening, as Rex lay on the couch beside him, Martinez called Ahmed Hassan to report that they had arrived safely. The conversation was emotional, with both men expressing gratitude for the role the Hassan family had played in preserving the bond between Martinez and Rex. "You gave me back my life," Martinez told Ahmed through a translator app. "Your family saved Rex, but in doing that, you saved me too." Ahmed's response, filtered through the translation software, was simple but profound. "Rex taught us that love has no borders. We are honored to have been part of his journey back to you." In the weeks that followed, Martinez discovered that having Rex back didn't just fill the hole in his heart. It opened up possibilities he had forgotten existed. For the first time in 10 years, he began to think about the future instead of dwelling on the past. Rex, despite his age, still possessed the qualities that had made him an exceptional military working dog. He was alert, intelligent, and deeply attuned to Martinez's moods and needs. When Martinez had nightmares, something that still happened, occasionally Rex would position himself on the bed, providing comfort and grounding him to the present moment. The dog's presence also began to change Martinez's relationship with the outside world. Walking Rex in the neighborhood led to conversations with other dog owners. The simple act of caring for another living being created structure and purpose in Martinez's days. Most importantly, Rex's return gave Martinez the courage to reconnect with his old squad. He called Private Johnson, now Officer Johnson, and told him the incredible story. Johnson was amazed and asked a video call so he could see Rex for himself. "I can't believe it," Johnson said, watching Rex investigate the camera with mild interest. "He looks good for an old guy. Does he remember us?" Martinez wasn't sure, but he planned to find out. Over the next few months, he arranged video calls with each of his surviving squad members. Rex's reactions were remarkable. His ears would perk up when he heard familiar voices, and he would move closer to the computer screen, as if trying to understand where the sounds were coming from. The reunions, even virtual ones, were emotional for everyone involved. Corporal Williams, who had struggled with his own war injuries, said that seeing Rex alive had lifted a weight he hadn't realized he was carrying. "We all owe our lives to that dog," he said. "Knowing he's safe and happy, it means everything." Martinez began volunteering with a local organization that helped military veterans adopt retired working dogs. His experience with Rex made him a valuable advocate for the program, and he found deep satisfaction in helping other veterans find the same healing he had discovered. 6 months after Rex's return, Martinez made a decision that surprised even himself. He enrolled in a program to become a certified dog trainer, specializing in working with military and police dogs. Rex, despite his age, became his assistant, demonstrating obedience and behavior techniques with the patience of a dog who understood that he was helping to teach. The work was fulfilling in a way that Martinez hadn't experienced since his military service. He was using his skills and experience to help both animals and humans, creating bonds that could provide the same healing and purpose that Rex had brought to his own life. Rex thrived in his new role. While he no longer had the energy for intensive work, he seemed to understand that he was still serving, still making a difference. Young dogs learned from his calm example, and traumatized veterans found comfort in his gentle presence. Martinez also began writing about his experiences, documenting the story of Rex's service, sacrifice, and miraculous survival. The book, tentatively titled Beyond the Battlefield, was intended to honor not just Rex, but all the military working dogs who had served alongside human soldiers. Rex saved me twice, Martinez wrote in the book's conclusion. Once in Afghanistan, when his sacrifice protected my squad, and once in Texas, when his return showed me that healing is possible, that loyalty transcends time and distance, and that some bonds are truly unbreakable. 2 years after their reunion, Martinez and Rex had settled into a comfortable routine. Rex, now clearly in his senior years, spent most of his time supervising Martinez's work with other veterans and their dogs. He had become something of a celebrity in the veteran community, living proof that hope could be rewarded, and that love could overcome seemingly impossible obstacles. The Hassan family had become extended family to Martinez. They visited regularly, and Martinez had started sending money to help with Ahmad's children's education. He was planning a trip to Germany to meet Rashid in person again, and they were working on a way for Martinez to safely visit Afghanistan to thank Jamal and his wife in person. Rex's health remained stable, though Martinez knew that their time together was precious. The dog had lived far longer than most German shepherds, and every day was a gift that neither of them took for granted. On quiet evenings, when Rex lay beside him on the couch, Martinez would sometimes look at the old photograph on the mantel, one of them together in Afghanistan, both young and ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. But now, instead of pain, the image brought him peace. Rex had taught him that some wounds never fully heal, but they can transform into wisdom. Some losses are irreplaceable, but love can find its way back across any distance. And sometimes, the most important victories aren't won on battlefields. They're won in the quiet moments when two souls recognize each other again, when loyalty is rewarded with reunion, and when the bonds forged in hardship prove strong enough to bridge any separation. The dog who had saved 12 soldiers had, in the end, saved one more. And in doing so, Rex had shown that heroism isn't just about sacrifice. Sometimes it's about survival, about persistence, about the quiet courage of love that refuses to give up. As Martinez scratched behind Rex's graying ears, listening to the dog's contented sighs, he whispered the same words he had said every night since their reunion. "Thank you for coming home, boy. Thank you for never giving up on me." Rex's tail gave a gentle wag, and in that simple gesture, Martinez heard all the forgiveness, love, and loyalty that had sustained them both through 10 years of separation. They were together again, and that was all that mattered. The bond between soldier and dog, forged in war and tested by time, had proven stronger than distance, deeper than loss, and more enduring than memory itself. In the end, we are all saved by love, and sometimes love comes on 4 legs, with amber eyes and a heart brave enough to sacrifice everything for those it cherishes.